When you get back, and it's like, whether it's your family or your friends or whatever, they're like, oh, how was it? And they expect you to be like, oh, it was awesome. And I'm like, it fucking sucked.
Worst gig ever with your host, Geoff Garlock on Revolver. Oh!
I'm your host, Geoff Garlock, and today we have Chase from Gatecreeper. And he has some amazing stories. He's got some amazing vape stories. He's got some amazing poop stories. He's got some amazing European terribleness stories. And it all culminates into just one beautiful piece of terribleness. So keep on listening, and if you enjoy this episode, make sure you check out all of our old episodes. We got other episodes on Revolver. We've got 100+ episodes on worstgigeverpodcast.tumblr.com or iTunes. But right now, listen to Chase from Gatecreeper. Vape Life. So, I always start everyone with a worst gig. It can be anything. It can be a show. It could be a terrible job. Whatever it is to you.
All right. When I got asked to do this, I was thinking, kind of racking my brain. And at first I was like, oh, we've been pretty lucky. Like, we haven't really played, like, really, really bad shows.
Right.
But the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that one kind of sucked. One that kind of was at the top for me was, this would have been, like, in October 2015.
Right.
We were still, like, doing the very, like, DIY,
right.
you know, self-booked tour sort of stuff.
Right.
And we were playing a fest in Texas, and we're from Arizona, so
right.
It's not that far away. But we played a show in Phoenix, and then we played a show in Las Cruces on the way out there. And
a fill-in show.
Yeah, just to get us there.
Cover gas.
Yeah. So we booked a show there, or we had a contact and they booked it there.
In theory, you booked a show.
Yeah. And I feel like it was booked somewhere else, and then it moved, and
right.
It ended up being at a vape shop.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Vape life, brother.
It was at a vape shop. And Las Cruces is like a college town, I think, kind of. So we got there, and we got some, like, coffee or something, which I'll touch later. But we got to the vape shop, and there was nobody there, and we were just waiting, and then whoever was running, the owner of the vape shop, maybe the vape manager showed up, and they were kind of like, what are you guys doing here? And we're like, oh, well, we're playing. And they were like, oh, okay. And they kind of opened it up, and then they like put us to work, because they weren't the promoter. And they were like, all right, well, you could set up in here, like, we need you to move all this stuff, because they had, like, it was like a lounge,
right.
You know, like a vape lounge.
Sure. So
they're like, all right, you got to move these couches, and they were, like, giving us orders, like, we couldn't even move our stuff, and we had to, like, help rearrange the whole.
Right.
Yeah, and then, like, the walls were painted. It looked like it was, like, painted like a teenage girl's room.
Sure. Vape
it was
shop.
like, it was purple. And then it had kind of like sparkly shit on the walls and like mirrors.
So it was a classy vape shop.
Yeah. And it was like it was just really weird. And it was just like not that I think that we should be treated a certain way, but it was just really weird.
You're the band. You're showing up. You shouldn't be doing menial labor.
Yeah, they were just like, oh, it was kind of like, well, you want to have your show here, then you're going to have to work for it.
Right.
I'm like, all right, well, I didn't know this going into it. But, so we played. It was really weird. Like, there was no, like, the light situation was just full on fluorescent.
Sure. Do you meet the promoter at any point?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they got there. There was like a couple, maybe like two. Remember there was a local band that played, and they were doing like a projection sort of thing. But they didn't really, like, they weren't a metal band. Like, it didn't really fit at all. So there's probably not a whole lot of bands to choose from. But we played, and it was kind of weird. It was a show, I guess.
Yeah, it was one of the standard whatever shows.
So then we ended, and then we had to put all the stuff back.
Like, you had to do menial labor again.
Well, they wanted us to, and we were kind of just like, see ya.
Right.
You know, they're like, all right, well, show's over. Now we got to get all the stuff back, and we were kind of like, nope, see ya. which is kind of dick move. I don't know, but
I don't think so. But if you want to think that, sure.
Yeah. But I brought up that we ate where we got some coffee, and that for whatever reason, like I feel like I got poisoned.
Right.
Like so, from then the drive from there to Texas was just like my stomach was fucked up.
Ugh.
Like it was like we had to like I could barely make it like a couple minutes.
Right.
So it was just like I think we didn't really know better. We didn't really schedule, or like we had to keep driving. Like when we got to the vape shop and we played, and then we had to keep driving to Texas overnight.
Right.
So that was just like, the more I think about it, I think that was like a pretty bad experience.
I mean, it sounds terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
that's also like one of those classic, like, the in-between is the part that's fine. The
Yeah.
actual show, even at a shit venue, usually you're just like, whatever. Like, even if it's crappy, you can get through it. But
Yeah.
then you, all of a sudden, as soon as you, finish that last note, you're like, oh, right. I'm in a vape shop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go home, and I'm not going to be in a better place.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, the food, food is always questionable.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that just a coffee blew up your
Yeah, I
ass,
don't-
basically.
yeah.
Because that's how crucial it can be, is one little thing can kind
Yeah.
of set you off. And those fill-in shows are always... They're the scariest to me. Especially when you get to a certain point, like you've been playing enough.
Yeah.
And, like, it's such a gamble
Yeah.
going in. Did you, and I think you just said that you had to end up leaving, though, like right away, because it was
Yeah.
one of those like long drives in
Yeah,
between.
yeah.
I mean, at least you didn't have to stay
Yeah.
in Las Cruces.
Camp. Yeah.
And like find the kid
Yeah.
who, probably the kid who was in whatever weird band opened for you guys.
Yeah.
How do you, in those occasions, in those fill-in shows, like, or any of those kind of like, what the fuck are we doing here? It just jumps immediately into thinking, like, what do you do mentally to kind of push through? I know in that case you were not even thinking about it because you're just dealing with your gastrointestinal
Yeah.
issues. But like, how do you kind of mentally push through that kind of shit?
It's, I mean, it's hard. I mean, the more I feel like we've been talking about it a lot recently because, you know, the stuff we've been really lucky to do, the stuff that we have, you
Right.
know, like the more we tour, the like it's getting better and better,
Right.
which is good.
That's the ideal.
Yeah.
It's bad. I've been in the position where you're like, oh no, it's getting worse.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, it's
we had
gotta
one
happen,
tour I
yeah.
brought up before that we called the Glory Tour. Nothing but glory. It was only booking places we knew that people would love us.
Yeah.
My old band Panthers. And then we went, and that was like one of the worst tours we ever did. I was like, oh, this isn't working.
Yeah.
The magic isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe we're starting to get like a little, I wouldn't say spoiled, but like
Right.
used to being able to like having a place to, even if it's just a small room to like get away
Yeah.
from the show,
Yeah.
where you're not actually in the crowd. But when you're playing, you know, like on this tour, even we've played at like a record store.
Yeah.
So like you're setting up merch outside. You don't really have a lot of room,
Right.
even to play, but like to set up your shit, there's nowhere to like be, unless you want to sit in the van and it's summer and it's hot.
Right.
I think just being able to have a place to kind of get away,
Yeah.
even if it's not big, even if it's like usually it's it's like this, it's a basement,
right.
you know. But that's just, it means a lot.
It
Or a
feels
place
crucial.
to charge your phone or something,
Yeah.
you know. There's small stuff like that that when you don't have it, you realize how nice it is.
Right.
And I'm all about like, because we're all adults, you know,
Right.
like it's not when you're like 18 or, you know, early 20s where you're just like, yeah, we're going to go out and it's just going to be like, we're going to sleep in the van, we're going to sleep on the floor, like whatever. If we got to get a hotel room, we're going to like all pile into the same one.
Yep.
You know,
And you
we'll
gotta do
sneak
that
in the
weird
back door.
sneak in,
Yeah.
yep.
And the same thing, the more and more it goes on, we're just like, you know,
The other
we want to
with
be
this-
comfortable.
Right.
You know?
Because the other problem, too, with the sneak in that would start to bug the hell out of me is, like, doing a crazy sneak in to get, like, 3 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Like, when you've planned it poorly, and you're like, we're just going to drive through the night.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a second. And for me, it was always, I'm the only sober one.
Yeah.
I guess I got to drive through the night. Wait, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then you sneak in, you try to get the extended checkout.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe. It's always like you're fucking twisting their arms so much. Maybe I give you a half hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is no one knocking down the doors to get into this fucking hotel.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, and like you just said, like I would just start to feel like I'm too old for this. I'm too old to do the sneak in.
Yeah.
To get into one room and like waste $60 in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It just wears you out. But yeah, I do think there is something crucial about just having that kind of getaway spot. I mean, when you don't have that, how do you deal with punishers? How do you deal with fucking, you know, we love fans. Fans are the best.
Yeah.
But there's always at least one punisher.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I don't know. Like, I feel like some people, there's certain members of my band that, like, attract it. You know, I will attract it because I'm a singer. And people, like, it's the face of, like, people want to talk to me. And that's fine. Usually, I would categorize someone as a punisher who doesn't pick up on your social cues.
Yes.
Where you're just, like, kind of, like, with me and you were having a conversation, and you could tell that I was like, yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I'd say, it was nice to meet you.
Yep.
And you're kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to go. You know, like, oh,
I got to
see
go
this
over here. I'll go with you.
Yeah. So it's like, you have to, like, I'm sure that you know that you have within your group, you have like a signal, you know, like, hey, I need to find this pedal over here. Can you help me find it? You know, or hey, they need you over here.
Right.
Or you see someone give you the eyes, like, help me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing. If it's like, if you don't have it's very draining if you don't have a place to escape.
Well, it's hard because I would hide behind the merch table, but that's also prime place for the Punisher.
Yeah.
Because where else are you going to go? But I just was like, I would cultivate a standoffish energy.
Yeah.
Ideally, so that would just be like, oh, maybe I don't want to hang around this fucking. And luckily, also, no one wants to talk to the bass player most of the time, so that's a dream. But yeah, it is hard if you don't have that kind of getaway zone. You have to find the ways to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you know, that kind of pickup show is kind of in the more DIY days. Like, what was, because you guys are from Arizona?
Yeah.
Like, what was the kind of, like, hardcore and / metal scene? Because I have my opinion on Arizona, but, like, what was it like growing up?
For me, you know, I started playing in bands and stuff when I was probably, like, 13, 12, and it was like where I grew up. It was like the suburbs in Mesa, which is like a suburb of Phoenix. And there was like a lot of house shows, but it was like, it seemed like they were like, it would be like everyone at the school was there, but it was such a small, like, but there would be like a house show like every weekend, but it was like within the world was so small. It was like the people that you knew at your school that had bands, or maybe one other high school. And it was just like so small, but it was like, it was really active for what I remember. And people were like, you know, whoever's parents would let them have a show at their house. And then, you know, later after, you know, school and my early 20s, there was a lot of good DIY spaces. Like, you probably played at the Modified before or in the Phoenix. So that was like an art space like venue that had a lot of stuff. But it was DIY, but it was a little bit more like, a lot of known touring bands would play, but there was a lot of DIY spots like practice space / venues or house shows and stuff like that. And I've talked about it before with like people that asked me about Arizona and like, or our band, how it relates. Like, oh, did you guys come from like hardcore or metal? It was like both, because in Arizona it's like very overlapped because there's not enough going on to really keep it separate. So it's like, hardcore bands, metal bands play together. People like both types of music will go to both types of shows. I think that there's maybe a little bit of a generation gap right now where like there's younger kids that need to like pick up where we left off, you know. And I think it's starting to happen, but it's
because that is, I bring up also, that's so weird. One of the weirder parts. I mean, maybe it's in any music scene, but I especially think in hardcore and in metal too, but especially in hardcore, like. It's such a year, like, all it takes is a year to have a completely different scene. Like, growing up, it would be like, oh, you got into hardcore in 94. You have a completely different set of bands you saw and are into, and then between 95 or 96. Like, and there's just such a delineation. I think because, like, there's such a turnover. In, like, a more youth-oriented world that I'm never going to get out of. But, but I think also because, like, why I asked also about Arizona is I think I played there twice, and we played there once with Orchid, my old band Orchid, and like it was not that we would like we were always playing small house shows and DIY shows, but almost always because we were the touring band we played last. I remember Arizona being the only one that I was just like, what is this weird insular scene? Because this band Bury Me Standing was playing.
Yeah.
It was like the post-groundwork an absinthe band.
Yeah.
I remember when they
put out our first record.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And then whatever the show was, they headlined, but there was also... I remember like talking to her saying, I was just like, did we show up in the middle of some Arizona beef?
Yeah.
Like they were like screaming at the audience, and there were people like, fuck you, and there was this big like, and we were just like, what is going on? And it was like we had entered Arizona scene politics.
Yeah.
And I remember just for some reason that was one that stuck out where I was just like, oh, I don't know what goes on here.
Yeah. I mean, that probably would have been Tucson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were with the bass player, like he was guiding us around somehow. But then when we got, again, I was just like, I get most things. I get it. There's like whatever the politics are, whatever the beefs are that's going on, but I couldn't understand. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just a Tucson thing.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, every year is like, it could be completely different. Because that's like obviously be ahead of my time.
Right.
I just turned 31, but
right.
so
I'm a 40-year-old bastard. So.
Yeah. So like, I mean, that just from what I know about that era or whatever, it was like very political and like, I mean, obviously before the internet and like just social interactions were so much different. You know, like I'm at the very like edge of the like internet. It was like when I started getting into music or in underground music was when the internet. I was able to use that, and that's how I got into a lot of stuff, like message boards, or AOL Instant Messenger, and shit like that. You know, so from my experience is different. Where not only is it a whole different realm of people and bands, but also like just the way that we communicated is different. And same with the kids now; it's like way different. So it makes sense that there's kind of a gap in it.
Yeah, well, because also then we played with High and Fire there, and I remember just like. Some kid from my high school was living there, and it felt like he was running away from something. And I was like, what is going on in Arizona? I was like, I like it here, but I'm just not I was mostly just like, always just like, I don't completely get the world of it. Like, is it just because it's like such a small scene,
was that a tour with Mono?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. It was at the Brick House, I think.
Oh, yeah. It was the only place I ever eaten Papa John's.
Yeah.
Was my main memory also of that show. It also was, I remember, just on a different, it didn't have to do anything with the place, but it was the day that I couldn't watch High on Fire anymore. Like, where I was just like, I have seen this band. Beyond even touring with them, I have seen them 60 times. Like, I get it. Like, I love them so much. They're one of my favorite bands, but...
That was right after Dez's Communion came out, right? Yeah. That's my favorite of their records.
It was a great record, and it was just like, whatever reason, that was also the day of tour where I was like, you know what, I think I'm done with tour.
Yeah.
I think I want to be home. Oh, no, we have a couple more weeks. But yeah, it was just like could never get a complete read on Arizona. I never had anyone to talk to from the Arizona scene.
I mean, you're not the only one. That's like, I feel like part of, it's a lot of, I guess, from the journalist, the angle is like kind of, oh, you're from Arizona,
right?
You know, because there's not a whole lot of bands that are like kind of known for being Arizona, which we've kind of definitely, we named our album after kind of the Sonoran Desert, or we try to incorporate that because I do think that it's kind of a unique thing. We're definitely not the only band that's ever come from Arizona, but I don't think that there's been a whole lot. And a lot of people don't know about it.
Right.
And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. What type of crap jobs have you had to deal with to keep doing this band?
Well, I mean, luckily right now I don't have a real job anymore.
That's great. That's the goal.
Yeah, but when I first started the band, I worked for a porn billing company.
Okay.
Which I don't think, it was a really cool job actually.
Yeah.
And it was very flexible. Like, I mean, it sounds like a lot more seedy than it is. It was just kind of like a normal. Arizona has a shitload of call centers.
Right.
Like from when I was 18 to like basically through that job, it was a little bit different. But I worked in so many different call centers because they'll hire anybody.
Right.
You don't have to take a drug test usually, which was good for me back then. And like you just kind of like fuck off and whatever. I was never really good at the sales thing, but the porn billing company, it was just kind of like customer service. But you had to like go on porn sites.
Right.
So there was the
firewall.
there was no such thing as not safe for work.
Right.
Because you actually had to go on porn
Right.
sites. So I had 2 monitors, and it would be like whatever work I was doing, and then I could be like booking a tour.
Yeah.
Or like doing band stuff. So it was actually perfect.
Right.
And I could like multitask, and I'd be like emailing or like doing my work, listening to music.
Right.
So that was like a really good job. It kind of worked out where I got laid off like right at the time where it kind of just made sense, and I just was like, all right, well, I guess I don't need to get another job.
Were you able to get unemployment?
Yeah.
Ugh, the best.
Yeah.
I brought it up before. I mean,
I
it might
milked
be.
it for
I said it
sure,
once
yeah.
to my wife, and she was like, "Come on, I'm right here." But I was like, it was like one of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
Being on tour and being on unemployment was
Yeah.
just like a dream. Because I don't know how it is in Arizona, but even in New York, they don't give a fuck. Like, and if you're listening in New York,
Yeah.
your system's fucked.
Yeah,
Like,
you
I
just
didn't have
call.
to do shit.
Yeah, I applied, yes.
Yeah. How many jobs? I don't know, a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't look for one job. The beauty was also like fucking Bush had an extension.
Oh, yeah.
Right
yeah.
when I was done, and I think we booked another like
Nice.
3-week tour. I was like, hey, let's keep doing this.
Yeah, I think the other guys, or some of the guys that have like real jobs still in our band, like they'll be able to get some like paid time off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, that's nice.
It's the best. Was also with the porn billing job. Were you able to was it a lot of work, or was it one of those jobs where like
It was very easy.
yeah,
It was technically customer service, but like the cool thing was that you didn't have to be nice to the people.
right,
You know, a lot of customers were like, I'm so sorry that
Right.
that happened to you.
right.
What can I do to make it right?
Right.
For this, it was like, hey, I signed up for this thing, and it's been charging me $20 a month for the past 2 years. I'm like, well, that sucks. You can cancel it, but you fucked up, basically.
Right. Is it because no one's going to report
I
an
guess.
issue because it's porn and they
Yeah.
don't want to admit that they have
Pretty
a
much.
subscription?
I
Makes
think
sense.
so.
Good business
Yeah.
model.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to lose people. They're not good. I'm not going to look at porn anymore because this
Right.
person was rude to me.
Right. Did you have any shitty jobs in dealing? Or
I mean, just
throughout?
for this band, that was the only one that I had, thankfully.
Oh, really?
But in between, I also like worked for a promotion company and like
Right.
shit that like very well lends itself to the band
Right.
lifestyle.
Right.
I mean, I worked in a bunch of shitty jobs before that, but like I said, like we're all adults now.
Yeah.
Like this is like we've all played in bands for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and for me personally, like I didn't really play in any bands that really did anything even close to what we're doing now. But we started the band at a point where like we're all adults,
Right.
so we kind of missed out on that, like we talked about earlier, get in the van,
Right.
you know, which I think it's a unique experience but there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're older, you're like, yeah, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
So
Isn't it nice to say no to shit?
yeah.
Like it's like a dream.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate for me. When you're in, when you're kind of doing tours, like, you're going back to when you're talking about trying to find a place to stay and all that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Do you have a person, and maybe you don't have to deal with it as much anymore, but do you have someone who's the go-to to try to find, I like asking this to everyone, like, find the place to crash? Like, do you have, like, the nicer personality in the band, or is it you?
Yeah, I mean, I think our technique has always just been if we know somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we've ever really gone, except for, I don't think we've ever done this, like, fly a sign, basically,
Right.
like, we need a place to crash, you know.
Lucky.
But we've definitely stayed with people we didn't know.
Sure.
Actually, I do have a good story about that.
Perfect.
How much time do we have? Are we still good?
Plenty.
All right. So we had to. This was on the Cannibal Corpse tour, actually. And like, rather than, you know, sometimes at the show it'd be like, hey, do you guys need a place to stay? I got you. And be like, you can be really judgy at that point and be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, they look all right.
Yeah.
You know, just based on their appearance, you don't even know anything about.
You have to follow your gut, man. Spider sense.
But this was a situation where this lady messaged us on Facebook and was like, it was weeks ahead of time because we were on tour. It was during the fall, and it was like we were on tour during Thanksgiving.
Right.
So I think that we had a day off on Thanksgiving. We were playing in Denver the night before, and there was a day off, and then like Chicago or something. So she was basically like, hey, I saw that you guys have the day off and on Thanksgiving, like I'd love to make you guys food, and you can stay at my house. I have plenty of room. So we're like, oh, free food and a place to stay. Like, sure, that sounds cool, And it was really built up.
Right.
It was like we were really gonna get taken care of.
Right.
But so we were like, yeah, sure, that's cool.
It's a little scary because it's a major holiday.
Yeah.
Would think, but all right, it's cool. I get it. I've been in that position before.
Yeah,
too.
it's like, I mean, this person just seems nice, and they're like, they almost feel bad that we're on tour because, on the holidays, so they're gonna take care of us. We're like, sure. And I remember at the show, as soon as this person came in, it was interesting. and then we go back to their place which supposedly had a lot of room, and it was not. Like there maybe was enough room for all of us to lay side by side, And then at that point I was just like, peace out. I took the van duty voluntarily,
Yeah.
So I think, and it was just like a weird experience, and I know that everybody has their own kind of, like, you get to someone's house and you're like, what the fuck?
Sure.
But that it wasn't as crazy as it could have been, but it was just like that it was so built up.
Yeah.
And, like, it was almost like a bait and switch. And
She catfished you.
Yeah.
You got
catfished, and also
catfished.
there was like a vibe that, like, they do that a lot, to be honest. Because the way that they were talking about is like, oh, well, we got this band, or we had, like, they were like collecting.
Ugh.
Like kind of like creepy.
You were a trading card.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Wait, did you get a Thanksgiving meal?
I think she made some sort of like I can't remember. I think it was like vegetarian or vegan food.
Right.
I can't remember. I didn't eat any of it. I was like, I don't know. I got a weird vibe. Like we're gonna like I'm gonna wake up like 2 days later after eating this fucking stuff.
Chained to a radiator.
Yeah. No, seriously, that was like that. It was like a weird vibe, and
that is real creepy. And that is the bummer. Like, because you're just like, did you misjudge your space completely?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I brought up on this podcast, but I like when you said I remember once in Houston, some Orchid show, we got pulled back to a pig farm. I think I've talked about this. But it was some guy, and he lived above a pig farm. But it was legitimately like the size of the room we're in now, and it was like us and another band, the Red Scare, and we were sleeping, how you were saying.
Yeah.
No AC, middle of the summer. And when we all went to sleep, he wouldn't stop smoking cigarettes, so he just was sitting there just like staring. Like playing old grindcore and power violence records, but bathtub shitter or something, really fucked up stuff. And I was like, what? And you could hear pigs just like screaming all night. Jesus. And that was one where I was like, I gotta go to the van, man. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And again in Houston, we had another one in Houston that I'm sure I brought up again also, where we went back to the apartment and it was like, they were like, how did you think 3 bands are going to sleep here?
Yeah.
And then they said, oh no, it's because they're renovating the apartment next door. You can just go sleep in that. So then we went and slept in it, and at 5 a.m, these workers showed up, looking in, and we were just like, hi, sorry, eyes glowed shut. And they were like, what's going on here? It's like, I don't know, man, I'm squatting, and I'm in my mid-30s, in the middle of Houston. And, it was just, you get stuck in those situations, and, you just have to, you just push on. Because usually there's a couple more weeks left.
Yeah.
What do you do in the van when you've got those couple more weeks left and you're just sick of everything and everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I can only speak for myself, but I definitely get into that irritable But you learn how to escape. Luckily, now, you can have your phone and you can read whatever, you can look at whatever, listen to whatever, and it's very easy to escape into your phone. It's probably not the best for your mental health
not
to
at all,
just be scrolling your fucking screen for 8 hours.
But is it good for your mental health to be staring at your bandmates for 8 hours?
So it's another one of those things that we've adjusted to just be more comfortable, because I honestly think that it makes the tour better, and we can perform better, and get along better, or it's okay, well, we're gonna get a trailer now instead of packing, so we all have more room in the van. The things that you kind of exchange, you have to pay for, but
Mm-hmm.
we ultimately all agree that it's
It ends
worth
up being
it.
worth it.
Yeah.
It 100% is. Because it's just like like, a lot of times too, you'll do the math and then like you get home and you're like, we didn't even save that much.
Yeah.
Like we saved like $50 more for a person.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? Like,
So that's definitely like you have your own space. You know, everybody, person up front is controlling the music, but
Yeah.
everybody else has their headphones
Yeah.
on. Like, you know, there can be times of like group discussion
Yeah.
or whatever, and having fun. But it's like, well, luckily we all get along really well,
Yeah.
and we all know to like, you know, one of the funny things that like, I'm sure it looks very awkward from the outside, but one of the things that we do is that when you go somewhere to eat, like
Right.
say you're just going to Taco Bell and everybody just kind of like, we're all sitting like maybe like, you sit away from everybody else, you know, you're like kind of 10 feet away from, instead of all sitting at the same
Yeah.
table, you all kind of find your own little
Yeah.
table. And it's like, I'm like, that probably looks weird, or like, that sounds weird to someone who hasn't really, but it's whatever time you can get to kind of get away from somebody. It's like,
I feel like no
do
one's
it.
ever brought up that idea. Now I'm like, why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
Like, legitimately. Like, because most of the time it would end up breaking off into two factions, especially in my band Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it would be me and my singer would be like, we're going to get tied.
Uh-huh.
But then we just, like, I've also known him since we were 16.
Yeah.
So, like, we were an old married couple. Like,
Yeah.
we definitely were just sitting there, not talking.
Yeah.
Just staring. Like, but, and, like, I was like, why didn't I just go eat? I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, but even in the same place, like, because, like, we're going to get right back into sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
Ugh,
We just kind of like break up a little bit.
It's
you
one
know?
of those simple ideas, like, that you're just like, why? I'm just like, now I'm beating myself
Yeah.
up not doing that. Because it would kill me. Speaking of food, what's the worst food on tour? Like, dealing with that?
Worst food?
Yeah. Whether it be a fast food or whether it be like a punk sort
Yeah.
of food.
I mean, I have very low food morals,
Sure.
so I like to eat fast food. I actually did me and Spencer from Full of Hell, we did a thing on Revolver recently.
Oh,
and
right,
just
I looked at
fast
that. Yeah.
So like, I'm probably not the best one to ask about because I'm like, if I have to eat at Taco Bell or McDonald's like every day, that's kind of okay with
Taco
me.
Bell's the best.
Yeah.
Whatever. Taco Bell's there's no problem
Yeah.
with Taco Bell.
I think food, it can be tricky when you're in a band because like our bass player is vegan,
Right.
So it's like, especially when it's only one person.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh,
That was
we
me.
gotta find somewhere, but it's like we have to also include this person.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, all right, you're gonna have to eat French fries.
Yeah.
You know, so that makes it.
Which you learn to live. 20
that's
years
what I
of
talk
being a
about.
vegetarian.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm going to eat garbage sometimes. It's just
Yeah.
the way it is. Taco Bell's the best for that.
Yeah. I mean, in Europe, I guess it's a little bit different, where like they feed you, and you're
Yes.
kind of like, I don't know what this is, but I'm
Right.
gonna eat it.
Right.
But that's not like how it is here. You
Right.
know?
Have you been to Europe a bunch?
Yeah. Oh, we only went one time, and
Okay.
actually, we all got, well, not all of us, like 2 or 3 of us, including me, got deadly sick.
Really?
Like more, the craziest sick feeling I've had, like illness ever touring for sure, but like
Right.
I've felt in a long time.
Right.
Like it was bad, and I think it was because of food actually.
Right.
Like I think it was some sort of food poisoning or like
Do you have any
Ebola or
idea
something.
what it was from? Like,
Well,
what
we have
specifically?
we've narrowed it down because we were on tour with another band from Germany, and there was a group of, it was a sort of thing where we kind of split up. We were in Budapest.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been?
We never got to do that tour.
Budapest, and there's like this place where you can hike up, and you can kind of like overlook the city.
Right.
And so we were with a band. Their name was Rattler, and they're from Germany. We kind of split up, and we were like hanging out. We did the thing where we would go to different places.
Right.
And there's a few of us that went to this place that was kind of just like shawarma,
Yeah.
a chicken, and all of us that got that chicken
Yeah.
were like, I'm talking like instant. Like we hiked up this place, and I sharted myself on the mountain, and I was like, dude, I'm like, I didn't fully hit me, but like that was the beginning of it, you know. That was,
Every
like,
aspect of this equation is just like, yeah. Like, all right, we were in Budapest. Yeah. We
Yeah.
got shawarma. Like, yeah. It's usually a gamble,
Yeah.
like, anywhere.
And then I sharded, yeah.
That's great. And
And then the next couple of days were just like we were dead. Like it was
Right.
bad, like food poisoning or
Right.
whatever it was, where it was just like it it was, and that being our first and only European experience so far, I felt like such a dick because, I mean, we didn't cancel any of the shows.
Sure.
There were some shows that we played that were just like, I literally was like laying in a corner until we played, and then immediately afterwards. So I felt like a dick to myself for not being able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the thing was, when you get back, and it's like, whether it's your family or your friends or whatever, they're like, oh, how was it? And they expect you to be like, oh, it was awesome. But I'm like, it fucking sucked.
Yeah.
I was sick. You know, so there people are like, wow, you're like super jaded, or, you know, or like you're ungrateful, because it is a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But looking back, like but when I got home, I was like, that fucking sucks.
Right.
Like, I did not have a good time.
Right.
So maybe we'll be able to redeem ourselves next time. But
I mean, but the other part too is like, look, touring in Europe is awesome. I would never, like, I feel like an asshole when you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but I definitely, because, like, at least half of it, you're like, this could be a venue in America.
yeah.
Because you're not doing a lot.
Yeah.
You're still driving. You get to look at different things, and it's beautiful. But, like, you're not fitting in a lot of tourist stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I've definitely brought for, like, the one Orchid tour we went, the only Orchid tour I think we did in Europe. Like, I think the only thing we did was go in a concentration camp, because that was the only tourist thing we could find. As soon as we got there, it was like, what are we doing here? This was the dumbest idea ever. Now we're just depressed.
Do you on your show, do you get a lot of like Europe stories? Because it's like a completely different world. I feel like just the way that the show is, like, how you like a lot of the venues you actually stay there, or they're making you food, which is always a gamble.
So, definitely. It's always it's a half and half. Like, sometimes it's the best food ever. I brought up, I think the last one, 007 in Prague, is my least liked meal ever. It's just some vegan oil stew that I've had at 2 different bands within an 8-year gap. But then there are other places that are like, this is the best food I've ever had.
Yeah, and
like,
some of the times the places, like, you know, that have the kind of the sleeping quarters at the venue, it's like kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, there was this one place, I forgot, somewhere in Germany, I think it was Munich, but it was like a huge compound where there was like multiple different venues of like different sizes, and then there was like kind of like band trailers almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or like they put you up in like a hostel. One time, one of the, I think it was, actually it might have been in Budapest, so it was the night before I sharted on the mountain.
My favorite rainbow song, Sharted on the Mountain.
They put us up in, like, it was like some sort of it was like a government building where it was for teachers, I think. You know, because in other countries they like value teachers and stuff, you know.
It's a weird thing. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
So it was kind of like a like government housing for teachers that wasn't really being used, so the promoter somehow like got a deal. You know, they have to, like, instead of getting a hotel, they got a deal with the government to put us up there. And it was like really weird. Some guy had to like walk us up and like help us find it, and it was kind of this weird, like, old winding building. And it's like that sort of stuff is like, I feel like when you do some sort of like weird, almost inconvenient stuff in America, it's always sucks. You're like, this, because you know how it is. It's not it's the same of a lot of places, but in Europe, it's almost like exciting.
At the very least, you're in Europe doing it.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this person that's showing us where we're going doesn't speak any English. Like, I have, my context clues are like 0. Because I don't know what's going on. So it's fun. It's like a different, I feel like you could have like a completely different show just about Europe. You know?
Like, I remember playing some festival in Europe, and they gave us individual cottages, but they were like just the size of like a bunk bed. And I remember just like getting in there and being like, this is really cool. And then getting in, but also being like, oh, there's some crazy all-night European dance party after that I'm not going to. And it's really hot in this room, and all my bandmates are coming and trying to fit 5 people into the tiniest room with no bathroom. But I still was just like, but we're in Europe. At least when I leave, I'm not going to be just fucking driving Route 80. Like, or the same strip over and over. It's a heartbreak. After a while, like, America, just like, you're just like, I know. I know what I'm doing when I get to this state, basically. But and then the food it's a gamble, but at least you're you're getting something interesting.
Yeah. There's some weird smells everywhere, you know. And one of the fun, like there's like the small details where I feel like every band is like, oh yeah, of course, like the still water versus the bubbly water, or whatever it's called. You know, you have to learn, like, because they don't look this. You go into like the gas station, which another point of contention was that you had to pay for a lot of, like, at the rest stop.
In Germany, the plate. Did you have the plate?
What do you mean?
In Germany, they've got, like, there were a bunch of them that we stopped at, and there'd be, like, just an old lady wearing, like, a smock and a babushka, and with just a plate, and just sitting outside the toilet, and I didn't know what was going on.
No, they have, like,
and she was
turnstiles.
cursing me out. And then we had the turnstile ones, but this was one where they hadn't installed it. She's yelling at me, and then after someone's, like our driver, which is like, you are supposed to put your own. I was like, okay, sorry, I didn't know.
I mean,
he constantly was a stupid American, so I was like, I am.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I mean, I get it. You're paying, but they keep them clean and stuff.
Yeah.
But the water, it was like we were foiled every time, because it's like they all look the same. You go into the gas station, and you're like, oh, here it's like, yeah, there is some sort of like carbonated, seltzer water, but it's like it doesn't look like everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be a language barrier or whatever, but there it's just like they have like maybe a different color cap. But it just looks like you're normal, and then you get in the van, you're like, oh, fuck. You hear like someone in the back, God damn it.
Fucked up again. Yeah, you just can't keep the key in your brain. And whenever I'm always, like, I get hooked on just like, I'm like, I don't drink soda here, but I'm just going to nonstop drink weird sodas. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, you're mixing orange soda and cola.
Yeah.
Why not just keep drinking Mezzomix?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just drink Mezzomix nonstop so I want to throw up.
Yeah.
And every bottle is humongous. So I'm like, why am I walking around with like a 2-liter bottle of soda at all times?
Yeah.
But it is just, even that is those kind of like little things that make it really fucking a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference at this point? I mean, do you have a preference between Europe or here for a tour?
I mean, like I told you.
Because it was shitty on
it was shitty. But I want to go back to, like, redeem ourselves, you know? And there was just, like, other than getting sick and just being at the first time, there was some other kind of stuff with the European tour that was just, it wasn't ideal. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, as with anything, it was just, like, we got to at least, like, you got to just jump in at some point. So we got to get our first experience, get it out of the way, and then we can go back and have a little bit more wisdom and more experience, so that we can do it. We can do it better. Yeah. So we're definitely gonna plan on going back, but I think we'll be a little bit smarter about stuff.
Right.
And,
did you have a driver over there?
Yeah.
How was that driver?
It was good.
Good.
I think we all individually had experiences that we shared later, that we all had in a one-on-one experience where we thought that he was going to kiss us. Like, it was like kind of like a very, like, you're like, you're just hanging out, like, I quit smoking since then, but we were like smoking a cigarette, and it was just kind of like, I don't know if it was like a cultural like difference, but it was just like, is he going to kiss me right now? He might.
Yeah.
And so I didn't say anything about it. I was like, I don't know. It was just, it was that feeling I had. But then someone else brought it up, and I was like, dude, the same thing happened to me.
Where was he from?
Germany.
Okay. That's the thing.
I don't know if they like
you don't
to
know
kiss
what's
each
going
other.
on with Germans. Honestly, they are just like, they've got no emotions.
Yeah.
They're very straightforward about telling you that was not a good set you played tonight.
Yeah.
All the time. I have seen you better.
Yeah. Your new, last album, good. Newest one, not so good.
Yeah. The word I all these I brought up, but our second record, our German label didn't want to put it out, and it was. I mean, in some ways, I'm almost like, yeah, I guess I respect him, because he didn't really dance around. It was that German efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, when I finally got a hold of him, he's like, I enjoyed your last record. This one you have made, I am not enjoying, so we won't be doing it. Have a good life. I was like, all right, man, I guess we'll just keep on trucking.
Yeah.
Thanks for being German. And the only time that there was a freak out with our German driver was once when I turned down food. Like, we were staying at some couple's house, and they did not like plan on having us, and they were like, do you want us to go buy you breakfast? I was like, no. I was like, why would you do that? And he was like, fucking American. Why would you do that? We need this food. It's like, we're fine. We've got like 20 bottles of Mezzomix still in the fucking van. So these were great stories. These were terrible sharding. which is culmination of every tour. The final question we always ask everyone: what do you think of the word gig?
Gig, I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's like, I don't know if it's, people from Arizona, we have like a special humor, especially in Tucson. I'm not from Tucson, but it's like a very ironic sort of thing. And a lot of my personality or humor is like, I'll start saying something as a joke.
Yeah.
Because a gig, like, I feel like that's something that maybe your parents would say growing up. They're like,
100%.
oh, you need a ride to the gig? And you're like, it's a show, Mom. You know? And then, you know that saying concert isn't cool. Like, nah, of course not. But your parents are like, oh, the gig? And you're like, yeah, Mom, the gig.
Right.
And then you start saying it like kind of as a joke, and then it's like, yeah, it's a gig.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an ironic thing that I like it.
Yeah.
But I think it's better than, it's just funner to say, I guess.
I'll embrace gig.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. That was
you.
great.